Gold just fell nearly 6% today, and Bitcoin just ripped back above 113,000. Is this the moment the gold to Bitcoin rotation finally begins? And what if Bitcoin hasn't been in a bull market at all this year? What if all of 2025 has actually been a bear market in disguise, and the bottom is finally in? Today, we're breaking down what's really driving this historic reversal, why the money printer is running hotter than it has since 2020, and why this year's parabolic move in gold has set the stage for a much bigger explosion in Bitcoin before year's end. Welcome to No Second Best, the show where conviction meets reality and reality points straight to Bitcoin. I'm your host, Hurley. Now let's get into it. Gold and silver have both broken lower today, down 6 and 8% respectively. For historic context, that's the most gold has been down in one day in over a decade. And right on cue, Bitcoin reclaimed $113,000 after grinding below $110K since the large leverage liquidation a few weeks ago. Is this finally the start of the rotation Bitcoiners have been talking about all year? 2025 has been overwhelmingly a story about gold, as humanity's oldest and greatest monetary metal has been the star of the sound money trade, up more than 30% since January, while Bitcoin largely chopped in a range between 85 and 125K. The backdrop couldn't be louder. Global M2 money supply has exploded from 129 trillion to 137 trillion in only 6 months, a 12% annualized pace. That's the fastest monetary growth since the COVID stimulus. And what did Bitcoin do the last time that happened? It lagged, then launched 6x in 6 months once the liquidity hit the system. And here we are again. The printer's back on, gold's catching its breath, and Bitcoin looks ready to run. Interestingly, just as Bitcoin looked ready to break through 114K earlier today, Trump dropped another cryptic post hinting that the China trade meeting might not happen. And like clockwork, Bitcoin slipped $2,000 within minutes. Now, I'm not saying this proves the gold first theory we talked about in the last video, but it's interesting timing. Regardless, this rotation from physical to digital sound money is inevitable. And to understand the historic depth of this rotation, listen to how Michael Saylor described the evolution of money itself when he sat down with Mark Moss on Market Disruptors.
You can't really understand Bitcoin if you're not an engineer. If you don't understand engineering, systems engineering, control systems, servo mechanisms, system stability, you got to understand all those concepts intuitively. If you don't understand thermodynamics, the people that are pure computer scientists who are weak on physics and engineering and systems, oftentimes they create Rube Goldberg devices in code that a hardcore engineer wouldn't build, right? And so you can't just be a coder. And of course, if you're a pure engineer and you reduce the world to I built a ship or I built a gun, but you don't consider the implication of the ships and the guns on the course of economic and political history,
right,
then you don't really understand Bitcoin either, because you have to understand the history of money and the history of economics and mercantile networks. And the idea credit networks are local. Like a German prince can have a credit network, a British prince can have a credit network, but gold or silver networks tend to be transnational, right? That the French, the Germans, the Brits, the Persians, and the Chinese could all agree to trade on a silver network or a gold network, but not on a Chinese paper money network. And so when you start to understand the impact of technology, that's metallic money on economic networks, and then the impact of a ship with guns on it, on that economic network, or the impact of not having immunity to all the germs the Europeans brought, or the impact of not having steel and being stuck in the Stone Age. All of those things have an impact on the way the world evolved, and I think Bitcoin it's crossing every one of those fields right now.
That's the lineage right there. Gold was humanity's first global network, a technology that linked empires because everyone could verify it. Bitcoin is the next iteration, digital, self-verifying, and unstoppable. The same physics that made gold scarce now make Bitcoin absolute. It's still energy, still collateral, just perfected. Now let's talk about some interesting framing first mentioned by pioneering cryptographer Nick Szabo last week. Szabo pointed out something I haven't heard anyone else highlight. If you price it in gold, 2025 hasn't been a bull market for Bitcoin at all. It's actually been in a bear market. That sounds bearish, until you realize what it actually means. As Joe Carlasare pointed out on X, markets correct in two ways, by price or by time. And this year may have been a time correction, a long, quiet digestion period where Bitcoin transferred from short-term traders to long-term hands, while gold soaked up the initial liquidity. If Szabo's right, the bottom in Bitcoin versus gold may have printed early this week. That would mean the real bull market, the one denominated in hard money, is just beginning. And that brings us to Saylor's bigger point. This isn't just a price story. It's a collateral revolution. When he spoke with Mark Moss, he traced how the world moved from gold-backed credit to fiat and why Bitcoin now completes that cycle.
You could argue, British sovereign debt, French sovereign debt, they were all gold-backed credit instruments. And they were all backed by various amounts of gold, but it was almost never one-to-one. It was always like under collateralized, and eventually it would probably got down to 5% collateralized in 1971. And that's the end of the gold-backed credit era, right?
Right.
And so now you have digital credit, you have digital gold, you have Bitcoin. Bitcoin is digital gold, digital capital. The killer use case of digital gold is issue digital credit instruments. And the aha moment is any company, any publicly traded company can create a digital credit instrument with any degree of yield, duration, delta, or risk. And to a certain degree with any amount of volatility that they want.
That's the hinge of monetary history. In 1971, gold stopped backing the system. For 50 years, we've been running on promises. Bitcoin restores collateral, digital gold that can settle anywhere, instantly, without trust. It's the foundation for the next financial era, and the market hasn't even started to price in the implications of that yet. If all of this feels familiar, it should. In 2020, the world turned on the printer after COVID. Gold ran first, then stalled. Bitcoin lagged for 6 months, then ripped sixfold once the excess liquidity hit risk assets. We're seeing the same movie. M2 exploding, rates drifting lower, geopolitical tensions easing just enough for money managers to start chasing returns. An interesting stat, it only takes 2% of gold's $20 trillion market rotating into Bitcoin to push it towards $165,000. And that's not a projection, it's just simple math. And if you want to position before that happens and do it the right way, Swan Private is for you. Swan Private works with high net worth families, individuals, and companies building generational Bitcoin positions, securely, strategically, and with real macro insight. Because the goal isn't to trade the next spike. It's to own the foundation before the rotation finishes. Visit swan.com/no-second-best to connect with our team today. So here's where we are. Gold looks to be cooling off as investors take some profit after a historic run. And right on cue, Bitcoin's heating up. The key thing to keep in mind is that global liquidity is accelerating, not slowing. And that's exactly what gold has been sniffing out all year. If 2025 really was a stealth bear market in Bitcoin versus gold, then today may mark the turning of the tide. The moment Bitcoin reclaims the role gold once held. Is this the start of the inevitable rotation? Only time will tell. Because in every monetary reset, the world upgrades its collateral, from silver to gold to paper, and now to Bitcoin. And as Saylor said, once you understand the physics, the engineering, and the history, there's really no going back. But what do you think? Has Bitcoin finally bottomed in gold terms? Are we at the start of a new 6-month catch-up rally? Or does gold still have more left in the tank before Bitcoin takes the baton? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, like this video, share it with someone who still thinks gold is the end game, and make sure you're subscribed to the Swan Bitcoin channel so you don't miss what comes next. Thanks for watching, and remember, there is no second best money.